Why not up live? Remove. Save changes. Yeah, I think we're live. That's excellent. So welcome everybody. Sorry for the slow start. This is Martin Cross and it's Cross's Corner. And I have in the corner today Jan Van der Bij, who's a top man from the Netherlands. And
Hello,
we're going to
Martin.
get into that. Hi, Jan. Tell us about how your day's been. It must be different to the sort of life you've been experiencing over the summer.
It's a little bit different. I work as well for Deloitte, so I got a lot of calls this day and been on the office, and that's totally different from my normal point of view. Then I'm on water and doing the hobby I like. So yeah, it's something different.
Oh, right. So you're actually, are you back now full time working? Is that it now? The summer's over and you're like 5 days a week in the office?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's full time on from now on, but yeah, I got some less time in rowing now, so I do some more hours in the work space just to even it out through the years. But yeah, and with the silver medal, you got a lot of opportunities to do some different stuff than normally. So yeah, I hop on every opportunity I get to develop some new things.
Tell us about those opportunities, because you don't often hear about. Are you getting many sort of questions or invitations to speak or to celebrity events or film premieres?
Not film premieres, unfortunately not. Maybe later in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got a lot of invites just to host things, just to do host a big event. And normally I'm an accountant, so normally I'm just good with numbers and doing the audit. So this is quite different, but I love to talk, and yeah, it's just see where I can develop myself in and get some talks about what's the same as doing business as being a top athlete, and I love to make that comparison.
Yeah. So as you look back on your result in Paris now, you've had a bit of distance. Do you still feel the same as you did then? Has anything changed in terms of the time that's passed since then?
No, not a lot has changed. I think then we said it was our best race, and congrats to the boys of GB of taking it home. I still think the same. They had their best race as well. We had our best race, and I think we both laid it on the water, and we give the public a great race to watch. And yeah, unfortunately we were second, but yeah, they were just a little bit stronger. I still saw the racing image back, and I was like, normally they don't have a good sprint at the back, and now they do. So yeah, that's good that they could pull it out of a head and yeah, just lay it on the water. So yeah, it's still silver for me, but we did all we could, and yeah, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I'm guessing from the way you're talking that you kind of went into that race, because I think the reason I'm asking is that I remember things like the British A in 2008 in Beijing. You know, I think Jürgen Grobler told them the night before the race, you know, make sure a silver. There was definitely, you know, as opposed to put everything on the line for gold. So what was your intent for that race?
Yeah, for us it was the same intention. We were sitting together the night before, and we also talked about this in the bus sometimes. We were a group of guys who were not in the boat for 3 years, not the whole cycle. So it was a lot of how do you start the race in the 8? How are you quick in the 8 and stuff like that. And even at the Olympics, you could see it. The first heat, we let America just row us by at the end. So then everyone got sharper, and then we had a repechage, and then you could see that, yeah, we screwed that one up. We started very slow and rode through the whole field, but no one in the team was happy. Everyone was confident, like, oh, we got the power, we know how to row, we know what we want to do, but this is not how we should race. And then the night before, we just talked about, like, yeah, if we can start as we did in the heat, and
Yeah.
we race the rest like we did in the rapid charge, and then maybe we have a sprint left, then we're doing it for the medals, and then we see what happens. And I'm lucky that we got the guys all in the same direction, and we did exactly what we talked about. And then it was silver, but you look back with the guys and look in each other's eyes and tell it to each other, like, okay, this was it. There was nothing left.
Yeah.
Yeah, it couldn't be more than this. So yeah, then you can only be happy about your race.
I heard some rumors that you were doing some phenomenal times for 1500 meters on the Bosband. Like I've heard 3:55.
Yeah. We're pretty quick. But
Like that's like gold medal pace, isn't it?
yeah, but at the end, I think the British did the same. If they would have been at the Bosbaan, I think they could do the same times as that. The Bosbaan is also, if the water is warm, and it can be a quick lane to race there. And we are very lucky as Dutch team that we have a very good quad. So we always race against the quad and against the four as well. So you get triggered to do the best you can and to go to the limit. And we reached that a few times, and yeah, that was pretty quick.
Did you ever beat the quad in those training pieces?
Yeah, but mostly they beat us. But we did beat them. I think I at least remember one time, because we got a coxswain who is in a relationship with the guy from the quad. So we know when we beat him, because then he's on the couch and he's very happy. So there's also the internal fight just to be the best. So, but that's fun.
and I get, again, we sort of heard rumors that the women's pair who won gold, of course, they were like killing everybody on the prognostic times.
Yeah, but most of the teams were killing it. They were like, you got the prognostic times, and then we just see, like, okay, what's it worth? And everyone was around 100 or 101%. And you're like, it can't be true. It can't be, like, everyone is on gold pace. That's not possible. And then during these Olympics, you figure out, like, oh, maybe it is possible. And at the end, we beat GB on the medal standard, and we're like, wow, if we wouldn't dream of it, that it was possible to be on such a wide schedule so good. So yeah, that was great. That was amazing.
Yeah. You obviously had this really cool guy as a coach, and I just wonder what it's like to be coached by him, and how that might be different to other coaches that you've experienced.
Yeah, everyone has their own technique in coaching, and Dietrich Simon is a unique personality, and he has multiple medals from Olympics, and you can see, like, during long training hours, you're like, okay, when are you going to talk about my technique? When do I need to improve? But he's just a guy who knows when to say the right things. And yeah, during our last camp towards the Olympics, he was just making great goals and triggering everyone at the right moment, because everyone gets tired at certain moments, and if you're tired, your energy can leave as well, and you won't listen to your coach maybe. But he always found a way in and talked about, like, what does need to be improved and what triggers everyone in the team. He has a great feeling about what drives the people individually in the boat, and how do I get the team together working as a team. And I've been amazed about what he can do sometimes.
Wow. So one of the things I guess he did, or maybe it was other people in the crew, is during the season you moved from the bows of the boat up to kind of anchor the boat in the 7 seat. So what lay behind that? What did he tell you about that, or what was the reason for that?
We in that situation we talk a lot with each other as well. We had some racing in the pair. I've been in a pair with Mick, for example, and we had some great times. And then we just talking around. We had World Cup 1, which we didn't race like we would like to. The rate was high, but we wanted a little more, big boy rhythm, like the New Zealand
Yeah,
team said in
yeah,
Tokyo. So we were just talking about, okay, what are the possibilities? And we, like, Mick or Stroke had an injury this winter. So then Jan went on stroke sheet, and then I was on sixth. And it was like, maybe we should try me to 7 once and see how this happens. And then we talked it through, and it looked like it was working pretty well. And then we had Lucerne, and in Lucerne we confirmed that maybe this is the right seating for everyone, so everyone can give their all, and so that you need to find a spot where the whole crew is symbiotic, that everyone
oh, yeah,
can do his thing.
yeah.
And beforehand, I was struggling to give everything I got in the right time at the right moment, and then moved to 7, and that helped me a lot. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Would I be right in saying that the Dutch 8 for the Tokyo Olympics had a bigger ergo scores than your 8 did for the Paris Olympics, or not?
No, I think it's pretty close one. The problem is that we do everything on the RP3.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys were pulling it very hard on the RP3, and
Okay.
I think we come in very close towards that 8, and I think even we could beat it.
Ah.
Yeah,
What?
because the youngsters in our boat, they are pulling it hard. They are just easy below 540.
Oh, wow.
So it's been amazing to be with these guys. They just after Tokyo, they came to the crew, and we did some 2K tests, and like Olaf and Jan, they were just pulling it very hard. They came from the American parts. They've been to the universities over
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
only on concepts. And first year there was a practice, but second year they were like, this is easy, let's go.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And all the guys were very impressed by them. They were they were kicking it all hard. Yeah.
What's your personal best on the RP3 2K?
5:36, I believe, something like that. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
37 maybe, it's something like that. Sorry, I don't have that very strong in my head.
Yeah. So I think one of the things about the Dutch 8, maybe you can just talk us through technically what you guys were trying to achieve, and why it was that you think you got so close to that in the final, or you nailed it in the final.
Yeah, like 8 coaching is pretty hard, because if you go focus on the catch, everyone loses it at the back of the stroke, and if you focus on the back of the stroke, everyone loses it on the front. So it's been coming and going from which side we were working on, but at the end we were like, it needs to be a hard, strong stroke, a long one as well. So how do we going to manage that? And this is a crew who can start very hard. We had not much experience by doing the middle part. Like GB, if you watch all their races, they're just they're pulling it hard in the middle, and they're making the difference over there. And we knew that we needed to be better than that, or at least come close to it. And for us, that was the hardest part to learn, like how to put it all together and do all the pressure points at the same stop. So we're working a lot on getting the blade clean in the water and have the strength just to go on after it. So don't go to your max limit in the start, but keep building it up, like using more and more strength during the distance you go further in.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of, maybe it's the wrong thing to look for stars in the eight. I mean, maybe in the British eight, you got someone like Charlie Elwes, who's kind of a bit of a star, although he doesn't act like he is. Is your eight? Did the Dutch eight have any particular stars, or was it all 8 of
No,
you or 9 of you?
I think it was, it was all 9 of us. That's something I know for sure. But I think our blessing has been that everyone was on the same level. There was no one feeling better than someone else, or being a star, or even being a princess in the boat. Everyone was the same, and everyone knew his duty to the rest of the boys. We've been racing the whole winter to see which boys should be in the eight. So we
Yeah,
had some changes in lineup. So yeah, it's been, everyone knew, okay, everything what happened was due to those races. So if you didn't do everything there, you wouldn't be in the eight. So yeah, you could, even at a bad day, someone was tired or couldn't do their best, everyone was like, yeah, but you should be in this boat, and at the
yeah,
end we
yeah,
need you. And I think that helped a lot also during the races. At the final, we were standing on top. You got the whole building from concrete, and on top there were some, you could watch over the lanes, and
yeah,
we were just standing there with our embedded scientist and just telling everyone like, okay, this is where you worked so hard for, just do it for yourself and the rest in the crew. And everyone felt like, yeah, let's do it for each other and see what happens then. And
yeah,
that was an amazing moment. Yeah.
yeah. You you mentioned thing about the scientists there. It's not that you
Yeah.
didn't have scientists, but obviously you had the experience of preparing for the Olympics in Tokyo and
Yeah.
preparing for the Olympics in Paris. Maybe you can run us through, in terms of physiology or training or approach, what some of the key differences were.
Um, yeah, the key differences are, like, we rode a lot in the skiff as well. So
Why?
um,
Why was that?
Uh, we think it's better for your individual development as well. You get a feeling of the stroke. You get a feeling about, if you're tired, how does your body behave during that stroke. And then from that point on, we move to the pair and see, okay, can you also use that knowledge to see if you can row together.
Mm,
And you train more individually instead of the group. So if you do, for example, a 20K in an eight, you could also chill in the middle part and then do something extra at the end or stuff like that. But
hmm
if you're in a single, it's all you. So if you chill, the boat is not moving, and
Yeah,
that put everyone to something. And yeah, just to put it out there, because we also have then the better scientist who is reading all the data and watching, like, is your heart rate in the right center, or were you too fast, or were you too slow? Got a lot of remarks that I was too fast, for example, and then
yeah,
you need to chill out and you need to row slower instead of your natural behavior, just to go faster and pull harder. Um, but we changed that, and also the setup. Like, Diederik Simon is then the coach. He does all
mm,
the coaching, all the technique stuff, all the team stuff as well, teamwork stuff. And then we have an embedded scientist who is just closely monitoring everyone. Like, how long does it take before you rest for a race day? How much can you do on the bike, in the skiff, or even during the preparations of your final? So even that differed from each other in the eight. So some guys in our team were just sitting on a bike for 2 hours while I was sitting on my bed because I needed to rest. So
oh, really?
yeah, so that's a different approach. And yeah, everyone was also standing behind the approach. So I think as well, if you all believe in the system that's there, it can do some magical things. And for us, the lucky way was that the quad took gold first and the women quad took silver. So everyone was like having confirmation that it worked, what they thought out. And then you start believing in it. And I think that's also a very important thing to have as a team, that everyone believes in what you can do.
Yeah, I guess with Ilko Meerhorst coming in as the kind of performance director, or not performance director, I can't remember what his official title was.
Head coach. He's just
Head coach. Thank you.
No problem.
The obviously having coached the quad to a gold in Tokyo, what he did, which he must have, they were on his program. He must have had a lot of street credibility coming in to be head coach with that result.
Yeah, they just had been talking like, okay, can we do another approach? Because you also know that Netherlands and rowing was not the best and the strongest, but we had very good guys running around. And he did something unique, something different from everyone else, and it worked in Tokyo. And then they were like, maybe we can try this for everyone in the Netherlands. And so they rolled it out, and he became head coach. And it all changed. So previously we had some embedded scientists, but now we got even more, and the coaching changed as well, because we don't have a coach per crew, we have a coach per multiple crews. So yeah, and it had to change as well, because our funding is not that big compared to the countries who are in the top 5 of the medal standard. So
Yeah,
he had to do something unique.
So what is your funding? Because I think Britain for the 4 years, it's something like £35 million. I might have got that wrong, but I think that's what they have for a 4-year Olympiad. What do you know what the Dutch team has?
Yeah, something around 10 or 11 ish.
Yeah.
It's a third.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
It's been amazing what he could achieve with that. So all the credibility goes towards Ilko at that point.
Yeah. How easy or hard was it for you to adapt to that kind of training?
For me, it was, I wouldn't say easy, but I love to work hard. So I love training as well, and it included a lot of training. So I got what I dreamed of. So that was good. But for some people, that was pretty hard. You saw the change in the team as well. People getting at some points even more tired than you would expect. So
Oh, really?
Then they were like, oh, this is not, I never felt this way, and I'm doing this like, what is it, 10, 20 years, something like that. And they're like, but it can't be good. And then everyone's saying like, no, this is how it should be. This is okay. We're going the right direction. So it's not an easy change, but for me, I liked it. As well, I wanted to improve on my sculling. So the first years after Tokyo, I could go in the quad, and I went to the Europeans and the World Championships in the quad. And I loved that ride as well, with Steph Bruning and with Simon van Dorp and with Finn Florijn, who has gold now.
Yeah, I'm going to ask.
Amazing.
I was going to ask you about that quad. I mean, we'll come back to that sort of training and the Olympic year, but just because I know you're in that quad, you just missed a medal. I don't know. Maybe Steph wasn't the fittest that he's ever been. I'm not sure if that's fair or not. Obviously you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was during the rowing towards Tokyo. We became friends already, and then we did some racing in the single, and then we ended up being in the quad together, and it was an amazing adventure. It was 4 guys who can talk easily to each other and talk about everything. So if you're tired or whatever, if you're not in the right headspace, we could talk about everything, and it was really a friendship project even. And yeah, that's been an amazing quad in my eyes. Unfortunately, we didn't medal, and then Koen and Tone came back, and yeah, they had the credibility, of course, of the golden quad. So it was easy that I got skipped out and they got set in the boat.
Yeah. How strange was it that Simon, who's obviously a fantastic sculler, wasn't in the quad?
Yeah, I don't know. It's something the coaches decided, and the only thing I can think about is they make the best possible option for everyone.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think this was it then. Yeah,
yeah.
we didn't have much thought about it. Yeah, and
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, obviously, I know you're close to Steph, and please don't feel you have to answer this because it might not be appropriate to answer. But how did Steph and Melvin deal with the result of their final? Because I thought in 23 at Belgrade, I kind of thought, right, these guys, they're so good. They've pushed the Sinkoviches out of that event.
Yeah,
They're going to win in Paris. And then something crazy happened.
yeah.
How did they deal with it?
I don't know exactly because we were still in the racing, but I talked with them afterwards, and they handled it so good. They were, of course, you are disappointed, like what you're telling about. They were the best crew out there. They pushed the biggest competitors out, and then the preparations were not perfect,
Oh,
and
really?
then they had this racing, and you can see it on the photos as well. You see them both crying a lot because, of course, everyone hopes about gold, but they achieved something together. They are two close friends racing in the boat together, and that friendship, you can see that gave everyone a good
Oh,
heads up.
wow.
Like, okay, the gold is not guaranteed. You have to fight for it, but if you fight for it, you end up what you do, what you will get. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think Steph has a new arrival on the way, doesn't he?
yeah. So interesting to see if he comes back or not. We don't know.
Yeah. I would generally ask people at the end of the interview, but as you mention it, what, if any, plans do you have in terms of rowing in the future?
I love the sport too much. I think that's I think that's a curse as well as a blessing.
Ah,
We had the Olympics, and then the head coach of coastal rowing asked if I would join them, and yeah, I've been now 2 weeks in Italy for the coastal rowing as well, because yeah, if you once you love the sport, it's hard to say no to such things, and
yeah.
everything is exciting. So yeah, I've been to coastal rowing, and we will see what happens after that. If they decide just that we can combine it, or that I need to choose, or we don't know what will happen.
Did you do beach sprints at all?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, right. So I've got a few questions about that. So,
no problem.
but I'll kind of ask open questions to start off with. How was the whole experience of coastal rowing for you? The 2 weekends or the 2 weeks?
The endurance is more like sailing. So I've been
Ah,
sailing from child till my 16th birthday, something like that. So
yeah,
in the endurance part, I love the new discipline in that. It's you got a course you need to cover. You got a loose start between two buoys. You can choose to go
mm,
with speed over that start or just lay on the line. So there comes a lot of more tactic
yeah, yeah,
in the rowing part, and I love that experience. And in the beach sprint, everything is a close call. So I think for the viewers, it's very exciting, adrenaline even. Uh, but for rowers, sometimes maybe it's a little bit crazy. It's you can just see that it's a sport that's still in development, and there's a very narrow line to be safe and to have coastal experience. So we were in Italy, and we had waves from 1.5 meters, for example. And if you
yeah,
end up on the wrong side of that wave towards the beach, yeah, you just get flipped over. You can't handle the strength of the water, and then yeah, you just put your life in a balance, I think.
Oh wow.
But on the other hand, you see the people who are very experienced with it are just sailing it out and letting it look like it's very easy and everyone can do this. so, so yeah, it's a very unique new sport, and you see it as well as the community develops as well. Very interesting for me was that everyone is talking with each other also about what happens on the water and how to
Yeah,
be safer, or what can we improve to make it better for everyone. And yeah, it's a very open and dynamic
yeah.
discussion, and I think that brings the sport further.
That's
In,
really
yeah,
interesting. I know Emma Twigg was there, and
yeah,
I think she might have posted something. I don't know if you read it, about the beach sprints, which included things like why don't more venues, why don't we have better beaches,
yeah,
basically, and also, about, I think, the New Zealand under 19s, because one of the days, as you say, it was big waves, so it was kind of cancelled, and
yeah,
they they kind of spent $7,000 for like 2 minutes of racing,
yeah.
and that was it. I don't know if you managed to see any of those. And the other thing I was going to ask you was, what were, in terms of how many people were watching, what was the crowd like, or atmosphere like?
The crowd was amazing. The crowd was like, if you're just at the course at Paris, the crowd doesn't get bigger than that. It's sorry, but that's just been amazing. 20,000 people yelling your name, or your
Yeah,
country. That something can't be, nothing can beat that. But everyone is from the water, if I say it right, and then
yeah,
at beach sprints, everyone is on your nose. So it's pretty much like, this is the line, from there are the people standing who can watch, and on the other side you're just running towards your boat, and that's so close. So the atmosphere gets a little bit more hyped up, and yeah, it's pretty exciting. And yeah, like I said, it's a sport with a lot of adrenaline in it as well,
yeah.
so you can see that in the people who are watching. Yeah,
Um, I One of the things that occurred to me, is that, how much more exciting would it be with more than just two competitors? Because sometimes, often, I don't know, maybe this is wrong, and tell me if it's wrong. You have a clear winner by the time the final sprint to the
no,
line comes in. So I'm kind of, is that wrong, or what do you think?
yeah, it depends. Like, I saw some single racing as well, and some guys are just outstanding good. And you do a time trial, and if the number one needs to go against number 16, the number one was very good. So that's a big gap.
Yeah.
But if we are looking towards the mixed doubles, for example, it was always a close race.
Ah,
I was in the mixed quad, and everything came down on the sprinting to the last bit. So
really?
yeah, we ended up having the quarterfinal against Emma, and then my bowman Bear Florijn needed to sprint against Emma Twig, and he just barely beat her. So we had that close win. Then we got
Yeah.
Italy, who was beat earlier than us, but in the sprint, BF beat them, their sprinter as well. And then, yeah, from there on, nothing was close or even easy.
Yeah.
So you're always to the limit.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and that's cool for the viewers. So yeah.
How important is sprinting speed? Like, if you select a sprinter and taught them to row, or is it just like, well, you just need to find a rower who's a fast sprinter, or you need to find a rower who's good on the sea that also happens to be a fast sprinter? Where does it go in importance, that, the speed of the sprint?
You need someone who is able to do everything. Like, if you go for the single, you need a good rower who also good at sprinting, because you
Yeah.
also need to get in the boat. So you need to have an easy handling with the oars.
Yeah.
If you go to the double, you need someone who is or a fast sprinter to get away fast, or to have someone who can end the final sprint. And in the quad, like we had Beer Ryan, who's an easygoing rower. He is not the strongest maybe, but he knows how to put the pressure on when it needs to. And at the end, he's a very good sprinter. So I think you need at least one guy who can good. He's a very good sprinter, and then you can mix up about what you want to do. We like the rules that if a girl runs from start to the boat, then a boy needs to run from boat to finish.
Yeah.
That's also something you can think about. Like if you want to have a head start at the pacing away, you can say, okay, maybe we need some strong running man to start away. But yeah, then you lose it at the finish. So it's also a tactic. What are you going to do? And I found it very interesting in the mixed quads, for example, that some had men coxing and some had women coxing. And we luckily have Duke Vetter, who is very strong sprinting. So if she has go, she's just gone. So she even beat some guys. And then like, okay, if we just end up at the same time as the other ones, it's easy. Then Beer will take it home. And so you also need to trust in how you make the team.
Yeah.
And it's a combination of everything.
That's really interesting. Where are the championships scheduled to be next year?
Oh, sorry, I don't have that.
Okay.
You know this maybe, but most rowers live till Paris, and after Paris, they have no idea what they're going to do with their life. And for me, it was pretty the same. Like I knew what I was going to do till Paris, and from then on, I was figuring out what to do.
Yeah. I saw some, because I was working all through the games, but I saw some pictures on Instagram of Holland House, or Dutch House, and the parties. I mean, obviously, you missed that experience in Tokyo.
Yeah.
How was the whole second week thing for you in Paris?
It's been crazy. For our Dutchies, it's normal if you finish that day before, I believe, 5 o'clock ish, you end the same night in the Dutch house just to celebrate making a medal. From there on, it's one big blur because it's one big party. The Dutch house was sold out for every evening, so there are like 5,000 people, something like that.
Wow.
All orange, mostly filled with friends and family, because it's registered that you make your medal, then you enter that 7 and you get to do some food and some drinks with friends and family you invited. So you can finally celebrate with them, because beforehand you have a lot of media. And then you have done that, they go into the dancing space and you are going backstage and getting ready to be celebrated. And from then on, you just come on the podium, you go crowd surfing and stuff like that. It's amazing. And I heard so many people who from other countries who want to get in, because it was everyone knew that there was the place to be, and it was amazing.
What is it about the Dutch that they have this amazing place? Because it was, I've heard that it was like the number one place.
Yeah, I don't know. It's everyone is so happy for each other. Everyone is just celebrating with each other and so happy. Yeah, at some point I was just thinking that people were like, oh, they appreciated what time we made to make this happen. And everyone wanted a piece of it, and just so energetic to party like that. I can't describe it good enough, I think.
So there's a couple of things. So I guess you did the parade of the champions, which I think must have been a new thing. Obviously, it didn't happen in Tokyo, and I don't know about Rio, but how was that?
Yeah, that's it's something. It was such a special place. It was I've been good friends with Dara from Bermuda, for example, and I invited
Yeah.
him to go with me. And I said, like, this is something so unique. We will never do this in our lives again, because
Wow.
you just get there with everyone who made a medal. And we were lucky that we did it in the weekend. So we just ended up being with a lot of people at the
Yeah.
Monday ceremony. And you're below the Eiffel Tower, and it was sold out on people who were just so happy. And yeah, if you put a bunch of rowing aides together, it's always a party. So even at that stage, everyone was partying and
Yeah.
enjoying their time. And at the end, we were just talking to each other like, okay, this been so amazing. This, yeah, you
Yeah.
really feel appreciated what you've done, how special it is,
Yeah.
how
And
unique.
tell me about the closing ceremony.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a bummer. Yeah. So at closing ceremony, what I found very nice is that you gathered around with everyone backstage, or we were outside, and
Yeah.
you can talk with every other country around. And I love
Yeah.
that, just to talk with people and what's their journey have been and stuff like that. So that's been amazing. And then everyone was pretty hyped and going in like, this should be an amazing closing ceremony. And then I can tell you the sound on the floor is terrible. So if you paid for it, you heard the sound right. But if you freebie
Ah.
like us, just going in freely, we just fill up. I think like they didn't want to see a floor, because yeah, a sound you don't hear anything, and then there was not even that much live music. So everyone was a little bit disappointed. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone was going in to have a party, and the party never started. So yeah.
No, I so in the only closing ceremony I've been to was Los Angeles, and they had Lionel Richie, who was the big star in the world that year, and he sang, you know, all night long, right in the middle,
Yeah,
and everyone was
yeah, they
like,
should have
it
done that.
yeah, it was a massive party. Yeah, that's really interesting. Um,
Yeah,
can I just ask you? I was doing a little bit of research today, and on how many under 23 medalists had gone on to win Olympic medals. And one of the things I found interesting was with the Netherlands, there aren't so many
oh
compared to some of the other countries. I think, like particularly, say for example, Great Britain.
yeah,
Um, but what it made me think, because I knew I was going to talk to you, that you came into the sport quite late. You didn't
yeah.
do under 23s or
Nope.
anything at all.
No,
So
I was 23 when I started. So
yeah, well that's like. I mean, you know, so there's hope for 23-year-olds that you can, you know, 9 years later you can win
yeah,
an Olympic gold, sorry, silver
silver.
medal.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sorry.
sorry. Uh, um, so maybe, yeah, maybe 13 years later you can win an Olympic gold medal. But yeah, how come the whole rowing thing started? Because it's very unusual that a 23-year-old. I've heard it for women, but not so much for men. I've heard it
Yeah.
for, yeah. So tell me about that.
Yeah, we have a unique structure here in the Netherlands. That's a big part of our community is the student clubs. So I think most people are familiar with normal clubs that you have also people rowing there as well as the youngsters, as the juniors, for example, and under 23s. Here in the Netherlands, you have a club in between, I should say. Like if you become 18, some juniors stop with the previous club and go to the student club as well. And
Yeah,
then if you're older, you just leave the student club and go back to your previous club. And
yeah,
the interesting part about that is you get a lot of new people joining the sport. So we in the Netherlands, we have just a lot of people who never heard of rowing or uh, have been doing other sports and starting to do their masters or bachelors or whatever, and just joining the student clubs. Because I need to talk about the student clubs as well a little bit. Like
yeah.
we have 1,200 members.
Wow.
80 of those 1,200 are doing competition rowing.
Yeah,
So the other 1120 are drinking a lot, so we can pay for boats and pay for the coaching and everything we need. So yeah, most of it is funded just by having good parties. And from those 80 people, I think 5 people make the national team. And then yeah, it's an amazing journey if you can do what I did and what Steph did. For Steph, it was similar to my journey. It's an amazing ride, but yeah, you give an opportunity that if someone who is talented enough to become a good rower can join at a later age. And yeah, the entry level is getting very low because no one is expecting you to go for the Olympics at that point.
Yeah.
When you just start rowing, it's like, okay, first drink this beer, then see how hard you can do it to 50, and the winner of that goes against the next one. And then at some point you decide like, oh, I love this sport, I want to develop this, and it gets more serious. And every university, every student club has their own coaches and head coaches as well. So you develop through the years, and then yeah, there's a very good system in place just to get you started.
So I'm guessing, did you start around 2015 then? Was that you?
Yeah. September 2015, something like that. Yeah.
When did you think, oh, I'm going to be good at this? Or did you just think, I love it so much, and then it just went from there? What happened?
At your first year, you get in 8 with some guys who had the same background as me, and they are friends with me till this day. They all have been to the Olympics in Paris, and because you become such good friends, you do the second year as well, because no one finished their first year of studying because you started rowing and you were a little bit competitive. So no one is studying very hard, and then yeah, your second year is almost obvious. And then after that, you get a little bit decision if you want to do your study and finish off, or you go on. So after that year, I had a talk with Stefan de Vries and Peter Wiesem, and they are our head coaches from school. And they were just like, well, I think you can make it pretty far. Let's see how far you want to go. And I was like, no, we see what happens. And then that year at the National Indoor Championships, I pulled a club record, like 5:51.2 on the concept.
Yeah.
So that was my third year's rowing, and then the national team got involved as well because they were like, maybe we need this guy. And then in my third year, I ended up going to World Championships. So yeah, it was interesting way.
Yeah, you were there in 2019. I think you finished 7th. You won the B final, and then in the Olympics you made the A final and finished 6th. Talk to me about your Tokyo experience.
Yeah, that's a quite different one than we had in Paris, indeed. Tokyo was first. My dream was to go to the Olympics. So for me, at that point, you're just like, oh, I'm here. I made my dream. Everything is possible. Let's see what we can do. But you had just a lot of stress of the corona test you'd need to do in the morning. So everyone needs to deliver a sliber in the morning, and you could be positively tested every time of the day. And then if that happened, it would be end of racing. And in the Dutch team, we had some positive testing. So Finn Florijn was already out. He was in the skiff. Embedded Scientist was out. Jozef Verdomschot was out.
Yeah.
And at that point, everyone on the venue was treating us differently because, it's the Dutch, so be careful of the Dutch.
Yeah.
So that gave you extra stress. And then at the end, I was pair 48 as well. But then every country had positive tests. So then it came loose again, and the fight was a lot better. But in those first days, it was so extreme. Like we had coaches yelling at us that we came too close, or that someone touched their boat, or stuff like that. Because Corona was something totally different, and we never experienced it, and everyone was on their toes because testing positive was end of Olympic Games, and that everyone behaved so not sportsmanship like, I would say even.
Yeah.
And yeah, you felt it through the games. And for us, yeah, then making the final was like, that was the least we could do, I think. And
Okay.
then we were hoping for a little bit more, but at the end we couldn't click at the right moment. And yeah, it was difficult water, and we were not the easy rowing crew. And yeah, everything added up in a negatively way, and then you end up sixth. So yeah, that was terrible. But at the end, I came home and was like, okay, first, we survived these Olympics. That's something unique. And second, it was my dream. So I
Yeah.
was happy. But I think 2 weeks later, I decided, like, okay, I want a medal. I need to go on for 3 years more. So
Yeah.
yeah, that it was enough motivation just to
Mm.
sign at that moment
Yeah.
and go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you decided where your medal might live at the moment?
It's mostly in my side. Yeah, so it's been in my pocket, or it's been hanging around my neck. I don't know. It's still a little bit awkward to leave it at home. So
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
yeah,
I I
very happy.
get a bit paranoid about mine as well.
Yeah, it makes you a different man.
Yeah. Is it you? You work for Deloitte, and Ollie Zeidler does as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Have you compared notes?
yeah. We always had a good click. So Deloitte is also head sponsor of the IOC. So they also had the
Ah,
Deloitte Mansion, and after the racing, we meet each other up at the Deloitte Mansion, and we just had a lovely dinner and a good talk. And yeah, we can. Yeah, it's easy to talk to each other, and you know where everyone is talking about. So yeah, it's always nice to meeting Ollie again. Yeah.
yeah. So when did you get involved? How did you get involved with Deloitte?
I studied accounting, so I think now it's 8 years or 7 years ago, something like that. I just applied because uh, I was invited to the Dutch team, but you don't get paid immediately. So
Yeah,
you need to have something to provide for you. So I went to Deloitte, like, okay, this is a nice business to work for. And then after Tokyo, we just had a talk like, okay, we got a new head coach, the training program going to be different, and I
yeah,
want to make a medal. So we have to switch priorities. And they just talk with me about the possibilities. What can we do? And then I think when we figured that out, 1.5 years later, they announced that they will be sponsoring IOC as well. And then we kickstarted Team Deloitte. That's all the
mm,
athletes that competed at the Olympics who were working with Deloitte. And yeah, that was amazing to get also some recognition from of the business where you've been working for, that they're like, yeah, we support you in this ambition. And yeah, it's been nice. And that's how I ended up with Deloitte. So yeah.
yeah. That they seem like that seems like a dream thing to do because they're very supportive. You get to do some. Do you have any time outside your program to do stuff? Because I'm thinking you're like on the water for like 3 hours a session doing sort of, rate
Yeah,
18 at very
that
slow
that
speeds or something.
that are the things you need to talk about a lot. So it was easier when we were practicing in the single. So I just go in the early mornings, going in the single. Then at
Yeah.
10, I came to the office, and we did some work around. And then at 3-ish, I just quit and went home for the next training. And then in the evening, I did another training. And when we ended up going in the 8, it's a little bit harder because not everyone wants to wake up early in the morning. So you need to make compromises. So I went less working, and at some point, Deloitte, because I was working Saturdays and Sundays as well, and they were like, "Nah,
No.
if you want to have one day off in the weekend, we understand totally. So just do that. That's better for you." So I ended up changing to having the Sundays as a free day. But normally, for me, it's always like, if you love what you're doing, it costs not so much energy. And for me, it was combining my sport, what I love, with
Yeah.
combining my hobbies in accounting. I could
That's
even say
amazing.
hobbies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um That's incredible. I'm just thinking. Okay, so Jan's been in Paris and he's been to the coastals, but does he give him, and then he didn't have a day off, and they told him he had to have Sunday off. So has he had a holiday yet?
No, not yet. No, sorry.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, we have some holidays planned in the future, and we will see what happens. First, we got the Basel head. We're going towards there with we made a nice crew with Martino. He was a former lightweight rower of Italy. Yeah. We made a crew from
Martino
Italy.
Goretti.
Yeah, Goretti.
Yeah.
We made an lightweight or an Italian/Dutchy crew with all Filippi guys. And then after that, we're going to the head of the Charles with my club skull. So yeah, that's a nice, and we stacked it with Olympians. So I'm very interested in how that will happen. So we even said like we register under our student club, so not everyone will think about the Dutch team. So we give a low profile. But yeah, that's in the foresight, and after that, I think I will take some time off. But the silver skiff is also in between, so I think I start that one as well.
Oh, you are crazy, man!
Yeah, but if you just love rowing, it's something you check off. It's like, oh, we need to go there. It's so nice, and I just love it, and that's also a sort of holiday, like yeah, it's a different kind of holiday. Some people just try to relax on the beach, and I try to relax in a boat. So
that's good. Now, one thing which I have to salute the Dutch 8 for doing, but I'm not sure. Well, it turned out well in the end, but you raced on the Bosban and you lost twice, I think, to Oxford Brookes.
Yeah.
So Oxford Brookes are saying, if we would have been in the Olympics, maybe we'd have, all that kind of stuff. So tell us something about that experience.
Yeah. Well, at first, I didn't want to lose that, but no, we had a hard schedule that week, and we were just like, okay, but we love the Koninklijk Holland Beker. Brookes was coming over as well. We knew that would be a good crew, so we were like, we want to test ourselves tired against a good crew, and they did exactly what you expect of them, just giving not an inch and not being flabbergasted that you're the Dutch 8 and just going hard out of the blocks and just crushing it. And we were a little bit starstruck by them, but at the end, that was very good because everyone knew how hard we needed to work if you want to make a medal, because one moment of slip off and someone else just can beat you. And Brookes did exactly the good things at the right moment for us. So yeah, that was the crew was a little bit down.
Yeah.
But at the end, I think they pointed at those sour spots, and everyone got excited for training after that.
I must just say, there's a message here from Cihan Aga. I was just at the European under-23s in Edirne in Turkey, and this guy was commentating with me. So if he's watching, hi Cihan. Which kind of one thing I wanted to ask you. So some of the events in world rowing now are very close to not sustainable. I think women's 8 is one example. Men's 8 this year hasn't been so good. So this is not down to the Dutch team, because I think there's a whole big issue here. But obviously, you guys decided that you would do Varese and the Europeans, Varese and Lucerne.
Yeah.
And not the Europeans. And what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there's just too much of racing. So, like, if in an Olympic year, everyone wants to have one race before the Olympics, and Lucerne is always on the right spot at that point. So I think everyone, even without talking to each other, all the good countries know that they bring their teams to Lucerne to check out the competition and to see where they are standing, I think.
Yeah.
and immediately the consequence about that is that if you put in Europeans or even 2 World Cups in front of that, no one will come to that because everyone is training then. No one is ready to race. So I think they should change something in it. I don't know what, but yeah, it's interesting to see it so packed with racing.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm just thinking that the model of Ilko's program with you using the altitude as in the sequence that he does, that that there is definitely therefore less racing or racing when you're ready.
yeah.
And so therefore that probably won't change in the short to medium term.
Yeah, I think there is a change in the whole rowing community. Like if you see to all the fields, World Cup 2 was not that many people who started, I think.
Mm.
So I think everyone is changing to that direction. Like, okay, we can't race every moment like we used to do because the margins are so thin that you can't perform every moment.
Yeah,
For example, these Olympics, which has been amazing. You saw all women quad lose it to GB at inches, and on the other way
yeah,
around at the women's four, you saw it the
yeah,
other way around. So that just shows you how thin of margins are there between having gold or having silver, or even not on the podium. You could see it at the pass with the Sinkovic and
yeah,
in the whole final. So yeah, it's so thin of margins that can make all the difference. And I think in Olympic years people won't come over, but now after the Olympics, everyone is just happy to start racing again because only training is boring. So we want to start some racing, and then
yeah.
I think the World Cups will be bigger this year again. Yeah,
There's been a few ideas for the future of the sport. The idea of mixed states has been floated. I think, I've heard Jean Christophe talk about that. The idea of, having a regatta like you have small boats and big boats, maybe like they do in canoe sprints. People,
yeah.
the same guys and women are in the kayak four as in the K2 and the K1. What's your feeling about any of that?
Yeah, I think it's like this. I think it's the same discussion that LA is 1,500 meters and a 2K. It's like it's becoming a totally different sport. Like
Mm,
if you are racing 500 meters, the sensation, it will all be closer towards each other. The
yeah,
margins will be thinner, but uh, yeah, now you enjoy racing for 5.5 minutes and then you enjoy racing for 15 seconds. Yeah, it's just your attention span gets shortened, but
yeah,
yeah, I think at the end the same people will win. If you do mix eights and stuff like that, it's the hard part of an eight is that you need to have 8 good guys
yeah,
or 8 good women, for example. And for a country to have that, it's pretty hard because everyone can have a scholar, a single one, or
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
pair or stuff like that. But getting 8 people together and work and train at the same location with each other. We are lucky that the Netherlands is very small, but for Germany, for example,
mm,
it's so much bigger, and then just get everyone to that location is like
yeah,
leave your
yeah,
family and friends behind and choose for
yeah,
your sport. That I think that's pretty hard, but it's also the prestige project. If you can make it in an eight, that means that your whole rowing crews are good. So
yeah,
yeah, it's a little bit
yeah.
double.
Um, you probably don't know the answer to this, but I'm going
No.
to ask you anyway. What uh, what's your sense of the of how many guys in the Dutch Olympic squad, men and women, might choose to carry on?
Yeah, that's a hard one. That
Okay.
if I would ask everyone say we go on. If I ask them in 2 years, maybe the half of them will be gone. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a hard one. It's like the athlete life is a hard discussion. I think always it's you need to talk about it with friends, family, and everyone. For example, my family lives more up north in the Netherlands, and I live more in Amsterdam. So if I choose to do 4 years, I know that maybe I won't be there when my grandpa dies or stuff like that, and that are the things you need to think about before you make this decision. And like you told already, have you had a holiday already or not? So a lot of these athletes are on holiday just to think about these things, like, can I do this? And for women, it's even harder question, because if you want to have children, the time is ticking, and you need to have a look about that. But for the men as well, if you're married, for example, with Steph, and she wants to have children, it's maybe the end of your career, because how easy can you combine having a child and do the rowing still? So that are things you need to figure out. But these are hard decisions, and a lot of people have asked me as well, like, do you want to go on? And I'm like, I don't know yet. It's too hard. It's something I need to have a big discussion here at home and with myself, and then see what happens.
That's really, really interesting, Jan. So I think we've been talking for over an hour now. I just kind of think it's been amazing listening to you and about your love for the sport, which kind of shines through. I just wonder, when are you next going to be on the water?
That's a good one. I think the first one is the Basel Head.
No. Are you going to train before that, or
definitely, so we got some funny things going on. So maybe I'm in a pair with Finn Florijn. You never know, but I think tomorrow morning will be the first training in the single again, and then just go with the guys from my club. So just to show them a little bit around who's boss, and maybe I lose it, maybe I win it. We won't know, but
on the Amstel.
Yeah, on the Amstel, and then you go. Yeah, those guys just trained so hard for the last 2 years, or just started, and then it's so funny to train with them, and just to show them some tricks from the Amstel, because there are a lot of corners, and not everyone knows how to take them, and that's funny to see some guys flying out of the event or stuff like that. So I think I will do that, and then and just take it easy, because it's just so much fun. Like, the Amstel is, if you've been to Amsterdam, you start in the city and then you go out to the countryside. And it's so amazing to experience. And it's the Netherlands, so for now it's sunny, but most of the time it starts raining and it's terrible. So for as long there is sun, I will be on the water, I think.
That's brilliant. Jan, you've been amazing to talk to, and thank you so much. I think we'll end the live part of this interview now. So what a top man, Jan Van der Bij. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.